Hello, rollers of the future and the virtual world. Welcome back to another episode of Classing Up the Joint, the part of the show where I ask marvelous people magnanimous questions. I don't know. The alphabet's starting to evade me there. I am your host. I am Colin. I use they and he pronouns. And as always, I am joined by a fabulous guest. I am so excited to talk to you. Fabulous guest, welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I am Jenel, or BossJellyBean on the internet, she, her, and I am a TTRPG, where do I even start? Creative director, producer, actual play performer, overlay designer, all
Wearer of all the hats. I feel like sometimes it's hard to quantify just the number of different jobs that any one person does within a small industry, organization, what have you.
Specifically in the TTRPG space, I think so many people wear so many hats because, we're all trying to get our content out there and you gotta, right?
Yeah.
So all of it. I do all of it.
For sure.
Except music. I don't do that.
Hey, I think it's also very important to recognize those moments where you're like, no, someone else does that thing. I don't want to learn yet another new skill. Yeah.
I can't.
Jenel, thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to have you here. Before we dive into a very, very, very exciting thing, will you tell me, how did you get your start in games? Playing campaigns since youth, like many of us, struck by the COVID D&D bug, or perhaps something else?
So I think my first game of D&D was junior year of high school, I think. I had a bunch of friends over the house and they wanted to play D&D. And so I joined in the game. It was me, a bunch of my guy friends. And I know that I got up to go to the bathroom at one point. When I came back, they were trying to sell my character to a troll to get over a bridge. It was a whole thing. Rude.
Okay.
So that wasn't the best first game in the world. But then years later, all of us kind of went to different colleges and ended up in different places across the country. And we started a game as a way to just connect every week and stuff and get our group back together. And then that became a regular thing. And the first game that I GM'd for that group was Descent into Avernus. And so that was
leaping right in.
That was very fun. Super fun campaign.
Do you still play with these people?
I wish we played more. We briefly had a podcast and a show called Abandoned Quest. And I did that I think we did that for 2-3 years. And then everybody kind of just got busy with their other jobs. And I started making new friends on the internet. And that's how I got to where I am now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love that you were able to keep it going for so long. I feel like that is something like many people that I've talked to have been like, oh, my high school buds and I started, and then college happened and we never saw each other again. And the opposite end of the spectrum, no, I'm still playing the same campaign from however many years ago. That's so cool. Can you also tell me, how did you go from I'm going to start my GMing journey with Descent to Avernus to I'm going to start writing totally new games based on other cool things that are not D&D?
I think I've always been real bad at following a recipe. And what I mean by that is when it comes to cooking, I'll look at a recipe, I'll be like, sure, this is the basic outline of what I'm doing. I'm going to throw in so many different other things. I'm not measuring. And that's kind of the same way
I'm not peeling my carrots and potatoes. That's where all the nutrition is. Fuck off.
That's where what I did essentially with Descent into Avernus. I took the information there and basically made a new campaign with it. And just more so used it as a setting guide and gave characters different motivations and things, and really took more so my players' backstories and wove that into something to be a main plot point. And I think after that, I was kind of like, yeah, I want to make my own things. So, yeah, it was just kind of like the natural progression of things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could very easily see the natural progression from like, I don't like this prefab campaign that I'm making a skeleton. I'm going to write my own campaign within the same mechanics. And I guess then to directly ask, did that happen first, and then the next step to I'm going to make my own game within my own system or a different system?
Specifically with what we're going to be talking about today, I went to make a campaign and could not find a system that would work.
Wow.
So,
cool.
It was more so to do this, I would have to take two different systems and mash them together to get what I wanted. And that's silly. So I could just make my own.
There's a lot of wheels. We don't need to make one that's made out of a triangle anymore. It's just, we've discovered that's inefficient. Yeah. That makes sense. And also I'm trying to remember, because I looked this up at one point, and I'm going to reveal that it's been a little while since I did that. This is not the first game that you have made and put out, if I am remembering that rightly.
This is the first TTRPG system that I have made and put out. There are a couple that I've made and kept on my computer that I have not seen the light of day. And maybe those will get
we go back to those with hindsight and experience, and like, wait, that mechanic was cool. That one's terrible.
But before this, I published a game on DM's Guild that is called The Festive 3, which is a horror game for the holidays. It follows the Dead 3 from classic D&D, and it's like the festive incarnations of them. You're like fighting them in this strange dreamscape, trying to save the holidays for this one little girl. That's a fun little adventure.
Who
and then
sells matches, no doubt. No?
No.
We didn't go all the way into the Christmas Carol trope. Okay.
And then I also worked with a group called Three Quills Publishing, and we made some Candela Obscura adventures called the Candelanomicon. So
I love that. That's really fun. Amazing. Well, let's talk about the thing that we're really here to talk about. Let's talk about Safe Mode Disabled, which I am so excited about. For our listeners who probably maybe should know about this, but might not yet, what is the, what's the elevator pitch? What is the brief summary of this game and what it's trying to offer into the space?
Safe Mode Disabled is a digital isekai adventure game. So what I mean by that is it is about being in the real world and being transported into a digital world. It is a dual playbook system. So you have different stats for the real world and different stats for your digital world. And it functions based on these paired settings that combine a real world and a digital world and show the similarities and juxtaposition between them.
Yeah. I've gotten to read through the quick start. I'm so excited. Like there's to me, there's such an interesting, nice play here. And I think to start with, like, how timely it feels, right? When I think a lot of us are now very keenly aware that we have to have a very curated online persona, presence, avatar, what you will, that may or may not match who you are in real life. And if I have a question there, I think one of the things that I'm curious about is if that was part of your decision to make this game, really kind of looking at the landscape of social media and MMORPGs and the things that we I don't want to say take for granted, but the things that we participate in a lot and might not critically think about interacting with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it stemmed from the fact that, as a TTRPG creator, like we have to kind of put ourselves out there and show one aspect of ourselves and maybe be a little bit more cautious about the full picture sometimes. And so this game does like kind of focus on identity and what you show to the world versus what you hide from the world. And it also represents, maybe this idealistic of what do I want to be? Like, what is like the person I want to achieve to be versus like what is the reality of who I am kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that definitely played into it. That was a pretty significant part of it. And then the other large part was there are these connections mechanics, and that stemmed from the fact that I have a lot of like friendships that I've made online through this space that are really important to me and like have helped me develop as a person, character growth. And I wanted a system that could explore relationships that are only online, relationships that are only in person, and then relationships that are both, or people that in reality and in the digital world, and how those affect you and change you as a person.
I think a lot of them really do in ways that are not always acknowledged. Recently, one of our last guests, we were talking about I think it was with Andy Taylor. I think there's a larger perception, especially in generations older than us, that your online communities and friendships are not real or not as valid as ones that you make connecting in person. Again, I don't know if I have a question to attach to that as much as like, is that something that you found true and also something that seems like is being addressed within the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is definitely something that, I wouldn't say my family really understands my hobbies or what I do. And so they definitely have had like apprehension about like, you have these friends who like you only speak to online. I'm like, yeah, almost every day. These
they're
are like
in
people who are
Malaysia. I've never met them. I probably never will. Yeah.
And it's been a really fun experience that I am building this game out and doing this whole Kickstarter thing with, two people who I consider very dear friends to me, Gloria and Taylor. And, I think some of the mechanics and things in the game maybe are a little inspired from like those real friendships that I have. So, yeah.
Well, I think, art imitates life and vice versa. Very much so. I'm curious also if there are other influences. Saying pop culture influences is like a really broad thing, but if there are specific other isekais or pieces of creative property. Yeah, what have you really loved and absorbed that fed into this game?
So the original inspiration was I was feeling extremely nostalgic and I wanted to make an AP that was based on Dot Hack Sign. I don't know if you're familiar. It's a very old anime.
I'm not.
It's a very old anime.
I'm curious. Okay.
That's kind of like a digital isekai horror. There's a series of video games that go along with it. But basically there's this popular MMO. People start dying in the game and dying in real life. And that's kind of like the interesting thing there. And there's like this mystery. There's a girl who goes missing and is like only in the game. And that's kind of like the main character trying to piece what is going on with that. And so that was like the original inspiration. And then I would say, a lot of stuff in this has been inspired by The Matrix. Ready Player One, Tron is definitely an aesthetic inspiration throughout this book. So
I mean, it's a really
yeah.
strong aesthetic, let's be fair. Like, the storytelling of those movies, I can raise a lot of questions about, but like, the aesthetic is very on point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
This book definitely aesthetic wise is me.
yeah.
Yeah, if you ask any of my close friends like what Janelle's aesthetic is, they will be like neon bisexual colors is is the vibe always, and that is definitely in
What a
this book.
description. That's incredible. That's so good. I uh I used to ask people a lot what would be in their summoning circle. And, like,
Mm.
if someone was trying to magically like, what do you put in there? I think it's a really interesting encapsulation. But like, what is your aesthetic?
Yeah, it's this color palette essentially.
Uh-huh.
Like you just put these hex codes like in
Uh-huh.
a summoning circle, I appear. That's what.
This like very electric. So for a visual description, right? We're in an audio medium. The quick start guide is very bright, very bold, very saturated colors. Really awesome art. I'm gonna, audience, you're gonna just hear me badly describe this. So in the quick start, what I'm looking at is on this very first page, we have a really awesome picture of a darker skinned person with longer braided hair, standing there like looking hella badass, and behind them this incredible just black and turquoise avatar of I'm going to say looks like a mage with a scythe on a chain and
Mhm.
thigh-high boots. Like, it's such a good contrast and this great way of illustrating, like, oh, this is, this person in real life dresses this way, acts this way, has this posture and stance, and their online, their avatar is completely different and
Mhm.
moves and stands completely differently.
I will say when we were doing the play testing, it was so interesting how people would go about building characters. Because you have some people who wanted to like really min-max the system, which you can. There, with the avatar roles and the IRL archetypes, like there are ones that synergize really well together. Like there's the speed runner and the speedster. So those two, get them together, and it's pretty broken in a fun way. But then there are people who wanted to be complete opposites. I had one player who, in real life, he wanted to be a hitman, and in the game, he wanted to be a healer. And he wanted it to be like when he goes into the game, like that's his happy place to decompress from how awful his job is, right? And how like
Yeah.
depressing that is.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. Or we had another character who she was this like very bubbly streamer, but who was like overworked in the real world, and then online she was this competitive sniper who like did not disclose like who she was, and like had like this secret account. And so it was just really interesting to see how people played with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is a perfect way to kind of lean into some of the mechanics, and specifically the way that you've come up with what I would call the gamer archetypes as well as the avatar archetypes. And I think some of these are, as I'm looking at them, I'm like, yes, things that I super recognize from Bartle's Taxonomy of Gamers and like various things that I've done. And some that I'm like, wow, what is the beta tester when we think about it? I'm like, I don't want to just necessarily read the list of the things because I think our audience should buy the book to find this out. But maybe tell me about how you and your team went about finding, like labeling these archetypes for both halves of the characters.
I think we kind of looked at the TTRPG community in general when we came up with, what we were going to do. We wanted the avatars to feel very much so like playing an MMO, right? So you look at World of Warcraft or Overwatch, games like that, and there are certain roles that you want to fit into an MMO team. And I think that that's kind of the direction we went with for naming the avatar roles. And that's even why like it's called a role, because it's the character you're embodying in an adventuring party in a digital world. And then for the IRL archetypes, it was more about being fun and meta and looking at ourselves and a little bit poking fun at nerds. I think a really fun example of that is we just reached our first stretch goal on the Kickstarter, which I'm super thrilled about.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hell yes.
But that unlocked the one that is specifically poking fun at myself, which is the group parent. We unlocked. So, some of them are... as you mentioned, the beta tester. So we gave the beta tester, moves that allow them to kind of break the game or find things from the original game that got coded out in the digital world. So it was about finding things that you do in real life that could be applied into this sort of storytelling mechanic. In a fun way. I hope that answered.
Yeah. No, it totally did. I think my follow-up, there's the one thing, this is a very specific, like, I'm looking at this. I'm just imagining people like, for example, my dad who doesn't know anything about D&D, but now that I'm doing it and his grandchild is doing it, is interested, or like, so I guess it was their thought of like, oh, the parent, or like, the boomer who plays, I don't even know what the archetype would be called.
There is a specific class called the casual for the IRL archetypes. And that is supposed to be focused on a person who doesn't really play video games, has maybe picked it up once to play Super Smash with a friend.
And like turned around in circles the whole time.
Yeah.
That was
actually,
me.
during our beta testing, we did have one player who played the casual, and they did have a moment where they were like, and I'm walking in a circle, and I'm walking and it was very funny, like in the middle of like a high stakes battle. It was pretty hilarious.
You're like, I couldn't figure, I'm shooting the wrong direction. It's that button, right? No, it's that button. And actually in this moment, I'm also curious if the group mom, because that seems to me that is both the IRL and the online playbook in one.
So in my mind, the group mom, you'd like, for a synergy combo, you'd probably pick healer or support. But I think that I wanted to have one that represents that kind of person in real life, who is the one who brings all the things in their bag to a con, right? Like someone gets a script, I have the Band-Aid for you, or like, you have a headache, great, I have the Tylenol, I have the snacks. That's I think it was important to have somebody like that in the IRL archetype side, because originally we kind of only had that as a support or a healer in the avatar roles.
Yeah. So these, I'm interested also in like the ways that these can synergize. Like you're mentioning the speedrunner and the speedster, which sadly is not in a quick start. So I'm just left here going it's like, not. Yeah, I can imagine this, and I'm so excited about it. And I think there's a larger, like, how do these narratively interact when there's I don't want to be like, real life is boring and online life is full of magic and excitement.
Sure.
But kind of so this is maybe a two-part question of like narratively, how do these interact in testing, and then mechanically it seems like you use both, and at times they combine, and how have you built that and made those choices?
Sure. There are a couple different story beats that you can go with to combine these worlds. Like I mentioned before, the original inspiration was from Dot Hack Sign, and that's kind of makes the IRL world more of an investigation. And the digital realm is kind of more of like this big epic adventure. However, it does cross over because in that one, the monsters or whatever from the digital world start seeping into reality. So you have like those crossover moments of, oh shit, like I'm in the real world, but I have to suddenly fight this thing, like this digital avatar that's coming at me. Or in our playtesting, it was kind of a similar thing where I was having them glitch between, which was the narrative reason to explain the cross-dimensional moves and things like that. Those worlds were bleeding into each other. But you can also do something where you keep them completely separate. And I think that because this game isn't built for, while the battle mechanics are very fun, this isn't a battle mechanics only thing, right? We have connections mechanics and there's a lot of role play elements to it. So I think if you wanted to keep them separate and keep the real world for like your deep, meaningful, emotional beats and the digital world for your big epic battles, you could even switch it up and do the opposite technically. But there are ways to make the story interesting in both worlds. We have a lot of settings that are coming out. I have a bunch of collaborators that I am working with for these paired settings. And it's really important when you make a paired setting that the two worlds have something in common or something like a theme of great juxtaposition. So if you take something like the Matrix, right? The real world is this ruined planet that machines have taken over, right? So we have settings that kind of reflect that in the book as well. So not every single one of these games is going to be a real world like what we live in and a digital world that's like a basic game. A lot of these have really interesting real world dynamics. We have a cosmic horror one where the real world is kind of this abandoned wasteland that's been taken over by a cosmic entity, and the digital world is like their point of resistance against these forces. And so we have things like that make the real world more interesting, I guess.
Sure. And the cross-dimensional moves to me is also one of these really interesting things. You're like, oh, well, I should be able to do something my avatar can do while I'm in the world, and my avatar should be able to do something while I'm playing the game. And I think if I have a specific question at the moment, it's like, did any of these break the game during testing? If I'm like, just to do a thing, if you take the if you take the healer's move, right, and if you are the IRL whatever, if you take as your cross-dimensional move, I don't know, Aura of Healing. And everyone choose to gain 1 hit point or life, which are the different life tracks of your avatar and your real self. Does that? I don't think it like breaks the game, but I'm curious how your playtesters have kind of justified bringing an like spectacular online magical ability into their real world section of the game.
So it generally depends on what the story is and, how we're explaining it in that context. Sometimes it can literally just be reflavoring a move so that it's that they have the knowledge of how to treat this. So it can be translated into like in that specific context, just you've been doing this so much in online that like you kind of have an idea of what you should do in real life to help someone when they're injured, right? But then there are also campaigns where we've done like you transform into your avatar in the real world and are able to heal your friends, basically, kind of thing. So it definitely depends on the story that you're telling, and it's just a great way for players and game masters to kind of work together to come up with a narrative that makes sense for them. I think a lot of this system relies on that connection between player and game master to kind of figure out what the narrative flavor of situations is going to be, and at that point, the rules are just a guideline to help you tell a cool story.
I refer very frequently to that being like one of the first 4 things the DM's guide will tell you in 5th edition is like, these are guidelines. The DM has the final say. And yet everyone gets so up in arms about rules as written versus rule of cool versus my homebrewed whatever mechanic.
I make a point in the quick start guide and in the book, we're going to have much bigger sections on that aspect of the fact that this is really at its core a collaborative storytelling game, and that the flavor of everything, like what is happening, is completely up to everybody to come up with, and that I'm giving mechanics, but I'm not trying to give exact things that happen. And that even comes down to the avatar roles, like titles. Like, what is a support? I give you the mechanics of what that class can do, but it's up to the player to describe like what they look like, what and how these abilities actually manifest and look. In D&D, they have very specific descriptions of what a spell looks like, and that's not this system. This system is you're giving 1 point of health to this person, or it's coming out of your own life force or something, and it's up to the player to kind of describe like what the flavor of that is completely. I didn't want to pigeonhole people in a way. I really wanted this to be like a creative storytelling system. So
yeah, absolutely. I think also one of the things that I really appreciate is explicitly adding connections into character building. This is one of my longest. Now that I've like experienced it, this is one of my biggest gripes with D&D is that there's no real emphasis on this, right? Like sometimes there's what are these questions about you, yourself, your character that your background might ask you, but there's rarely something to be like, what is your relationship to this other person in the party? And I feel like other systems have come along. Daggerheart does this really well. I think my question is largely the connections in the quick start are not limited, but it feels to me a little bit like it's written in a quick start way and less in the fullest expression of the game. It seems like ideally a lot of these would be a conversation between 2 players, game master weighing in a little bit, and I think I'm curious how you came up with the connection types and what ultimately the intention maybe is what I'm asking about, like how cooperative it should be amongst the table to pick these connections and figure out your shared backstory.
So the nice thing about the connections are that they go one way, right? So me and another player, I could have a cooperative connection towards them. I feel like when we work together, we have like this cooperative relationship. Their relationship towards me could be competitive. And I think in that way, it really mimics real life where people have different perspectives about their relationships to other people. That's sometimes it's the same, but it's not always the same. And these mechanics kind of allow you to mix and match these connection types in a way that makes it feel like these are real, actual relationships you have.
Yeah.
And the way we came up with that was just looking at relationships that I have with my friends and with people who aren't my friends, and seeing like how I feel or how I would define those relationships. So
totally. my nosy follow-up to that is, if in writing this, did you discover, oh, I thought my relationship with this person in my life was cooperative on both ends, but actually they're viewing it as competitive or as broken or strained?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, a lot of this game comes from real life experience.
Yeah.
And there have definitely been times in my life where I think that I am best friends with somebody and I find out that they feel a very different way.
Yeah.
Or I think that me and this person are like in a fun way competitive. And then I find out that like, oh no, they haven't seen it like that at all. Like they think that we're just like completely like,
they're not
synergistic. So like in funny ways, I think
Sure.
that definitely has been something that has happened.
Yeah.
But it's also, I wanted to have mechanics in this that evolve and change and lead to like your character's growth. And so it's also important that we have these connections, that they are one way and that they can change.
Yeah. I think specifically, so to briefly run them down for our wonderful listeners, we have cooperative, competitive, romantic, broken, protective, and admiration, with each of these having a specific
And I think we are going to end up adding a couple more into the actual book. After we've play tested a couple times, there have been some connections that people have asked for. And so we're definitely going to be exploring that and potentially expanding that for the actual full book.
These ones seem like a really good, like 6 really good broader things that, you could get narrower focus or more specific about the type of relationship. And I'd have to think about it, but I'm sure there's others that I could think of that are not in here. But specifically the broken one, which to reveal a slightly little bit, listeners, if you have a broken relationship with another player, whenever they are around, you take a -2 to all your rolls, and when they're not there, you get a +1 to all of your rolls. There's also specifically repairing this relationship requires effort and time, and until it's mended, the tension remains, which I think explicitly says you can change this relationship to your players. So I appreciate that. I think that's a really cool way to do it.
Thanks. Yeah, that was also a way for us to encourage, if you want to split the party. Like sometimes there's going to be a narrative benefit for a story beat to have, the party split up, or to have somebody go off on their own for a minute or so. And I think it is important to give GMs and players like that option that, in a lot of systems, it's the party splits and it's always a bad idea and there's never a good reason to do it. And I wanted there to be moments in this where like you can have like a little side quest for a bit that will add to the story, and that there are mechanics that maybe mean that this could possibly be a good idea. It's like a little spin-off thing.
Totally.
I know that Roll D5, when they did their longer mini campaign of SMD a couple months ago, they had someone who went into a broken mechanic and then went out of it. And I think that show did a really good job of highlighting how that can be used. So I would recommend for anybody who's interested to go check that out.
That I'm so glad you mentioned splitting the party, because something that I'm also kind of dying to know how you handle is the fact that again, world setting aside, my online friends are mostly nowhere in the same physical location as me, right? And so that then inherently, to me, there's a kind of a narrative tension between. Like I could imagine a game where you're like, okay, the party is 5 people that are all in a guild together on this MMORPG that we're setting the avatars in, but those 5 humans are London, South Africa, New York City, Vancouver, and Brazil. I realized that was countries and cities, so fuck it. But
they're everywhere.
Yeah, right. And so then I feel like there's kind of this inherent narrative tension between the party being together in their online space and able to work together that way, and sort of I guess if you're in a modern setting, you can kind of connect everyone by cell phone and text, but they're physically in very different locations. So to me, yeah, I'm like, I can immediately see the tension there, and I'm curious. I assume, have thought about ways to resolve that, or ways to kind of keep the parallel storylines integrated.
I think that there are definitely multiple ways to go about it. But the way I have DM'd it in the playtesting that we've done is that in one of the games I was running, we kind of did this thing where everybody was in the virtual world together, and then individually in the real world, they were all kind of dealing with things that were happening at the same time to them that would like maybe pull them away from the digital world and into their real space. And it was more so like an interesting tension of, here you're on your own, right?
Yeah.
And you have to figure that one out, and then get back to everybody in the game or in the virtual world to work together to do something too. So I think it's interesting when TTRPGs both have you have to work together as a party, but you also have to be able to resolve something on your own and stand up for yourself and kind of thing. But there are also definitely ways of doing it where you have everybody in the same city or something like that, or maybe they start off in different locations and then they get to the same one throughout the campaign.
I love in the quick start that the setting is a game convention. So I'm like, yeah, totally.
Yes.
That's everyone coming to the same location. And I think as a follow-up, as a DM, do you then sort of kind of give each of your players like a few minutes of individual focus and role play, essentially, as they're in their real world, do you keep a timer? You're like, have a timer, like I'm spending 5 minutes on each, or kind of when that narrative beat is done, I'm gonna move along to the next person.
Generally, when I go into those situations, I have an idea of what's going to happen, and I know like how I want to move it along. And so I wouldn't say I keep like a strict timer, but I also look at the faces of my other players and make sure that like they're engaged. And if I start to lose somebody, then I'm like, okay, no, we're taking too long. We need to wrap that kind of up. But that's just from years of GMing. But
totally.
In this specifically.
That's good communication and GM practice.
Yes. In this specifically, though, it was kind of fun to be like, okay, well, they go dark in the game, and so like people are like, what's happening? And then you do like your little vignette. But yeah, I don't think you should spend half a session on a vignette. It's more like you spend 5 to 10 minutes at most on it, and then you want that to kind of have narrative impact and be important to the story and not just like a random thing. But yeah, I definitely am mindful of how much time we're spending on that. But I also think it's important to give players, especially shyer players who don't want to speak up too much in a group, to make sure that you're giving those players like a moment of spotlight to get them really into their character and get them invested in the world and give them time to shine.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think the mechanics of this give you great built-in opportunities to do that. So I don't have a question. I would commend you for that, because I think it's really important. Yeah. No, I DM for teenagers, and one of my kids is extremely quiet. He's just soft-spoken. He's always super engaged, but both his like natural speaking volume is way lower than everyone else's. And it like, but then anytime I shift the focus to him, he's always got something like really like super ready, super on point, usually very relevant and very funny. And sometimes just like, I don't know, I'm going to give that person a cookie. I'm like, hell yes, you are. Yeah, totally, man. And wrenching my own brain back away from, right, I need to write that summary email and send it to all the parents. Not important right now. I'm wrestling with what an actual question is here beyond like let's talk a little bit about the actual mechanics during a session.
Sure.
So safe mode disabled is powered by the Apocalypse game.
Yes.
So as with all those, you're rolling 2d6 and adding some stats, but your stats for your archetype and your avatar are very different,
They
and
are.
having like these different life tracks. So yeah, I again, I'm like, what is my question here besides let's talk about these mechanics because I think they're interesting.
I mean, I could talk about where they come from.
Sure.
So, your IRL archetype, you have cool, alert, tough, smart, and quick. And those are things that describe your real life character. That was a focus on physicality. And even when naming them, it was kind of a descriptors about a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your avatar role stats are mana, armor, powercraft, and speed, and those were supposed to be very focused on when you're building a character in a game. What are you sinking your points into? And how do you build like the balance of that character? And that's, where we focused on for the stats of that. And I wanted those to be very distinct and make a lot of sense for those two very different playbooks. And then, as far as the different life trackers, that was a way of me making something that I wanted there to be, in something like D&D, you get to 0 hit points and you're making death saves and then you're gone, right?
Sure.
Which isn't necessarily that narrative fun, and doesn't necessarily like open up a new way to play your game. And when I was focusing on the life trackers for this, while there is the potential for you to die, if your IRL character gets to 0, you have to roll a d6, and that kind of determines what happens. But there are options in this that actually lead to significant changes to like the campaign. Like they're really fun story beats. So if you roll a 6 on that die when you get to 0 hit points in real life, your IRL self vanishes and you're essentially sucked into the digital realm. And I think that could honestly start a whole new campaign if that happens, right? Because your friends could then try and get you out of that game.
It completely changes the goal. Exactly. You're
really
like, our goal might have been defeat the weird AI virus destroying the game reality, except wait, no, much more important that we get our friend.
Yeah, like if you're trying to destroy, the digital world for whatever reason, and then your friend is sucked into the game, well, we can't destroy it. Now we got to get them out first, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely changes the stakes. And then on the other side, if your HP gets down to 0, your avatar is destroyed. And the way that resolves is that you have to make a new avatar. So your avatar starts back at 0, and that's like, you have to pick a different class at that point. And so you have to completely redo that part of you. And that's a real fun way for character growth too, to like see, okay, if I get to redo this, what has changed about me since the beginning of this game, and what will my new character, what will my the me that is now build instead of the me that started this campaign.
That I want to occupy. Yeah, totally.
So I wanted them to have a lot of stakes, but I also wanted it to inspire the story to change in a significant way.
Yeah, totally. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your mid-roll. It is I, your host, Colin, here to thank you once again for listening. It is so nice and so important, and it feels so good that you are here with us. And also to remind you that if you never want to hear me say that again, if you just are excited about the show, if you love what we're doing, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/therollreport, where also, for as little as a single $1 a month, you can submit questions for our interview guests, only our friends and supporters on Patreon can submit questions, and only they will get to hear the answers. We've got some really incredible guests coming up as usual, and if you want to hear their answers to your questions, head on over to Patreon. Also, you can follow us on social media. We are at The Roll Report Cast on Instagram and TikTok, and now on Blue Sky. Ooh. Follow us there for announcements about upcoming guests once they have been booked, and then you will find out if you have interesting and amazing and unusual questions for all of them. But thank you so much for listening. That's really all. We are so grateful you're here with us and hope you are enjoying this episode. Back to the show. So there's also the quick start has sort of these the moves that are listed and explained are kind of more focused on what you do in and out of combat versus a like, oh, if my avatar enters a new guild hall in the game and I just want to look around and do a thing, I'm going to make the assumption, would that just kind of be like, oh, you're rolling plus your, I'm going to maybe say speed. And I think maybe the follow-up in the fuller version of the book, do you have some of those, like the investigatory moves listed specifically, or is it like GMs, when your player says they want to do a thing, you should make them roll a die with the relevant stat, whatever that seems to you?
So the way that kind of resolves is that if you are doing something where you're looking around, you are using your IRL stats for that, right? Because if I'm playing a video game, I'm using my eyes to look around that video game. So in those situations, you are kind of using your IRL stats. If there is something that is happening and you're in the virtual world or in the real world, and that playbook does not have the stat for that action, you are using the stats of your other playbook. You just can't use the specific moves of that playbook unless it's cross-dimensional.
Right. Okay. I mean, I guess I'm also thinking about something like the many abilities that, I don't know, Jesus, Assassin's Creed and all these other things have, where you scan a room and then it like pops up the items you can loot and the enemies.
There are some abilities that the ones in the quick start guide don't necessarily have that, because I chose the classes that would work best for our starter adventure, because the quick start guide and the starter adventure Con Crashers were kind of developed for playtesting at Gen Con. So cool. In that, I did like focus on the classes that would best benefit that one shot. But in the actual expanded full book, we do have moves in both sets of classes, in the IRL archetypes and in the avatar roles, that focus on identifying things out of combat, just finding things, or the mage has an ability that's like a mundane object where you can just produce an object, things like that. So there are a lot of utility things that are not just combat focused, for sure. I promise.
Oh no, I totally. I just and I know there's always a huge difference between what you put in the quick start, which is just here, play this game, and the full book of like, here's much more things to think about and how we want to do that. I had like half of a thought that was about one of those, something that you'd said, and now it's gone. But if it's important, I'll remember it. I think a lot of, I have a choreographer that I work for who's always like, well, if you don't remember the choreography, then it wasn't that good. And she has abjectly refused to video rehearsals for a decade now. Just like, no, if you don't remember it, wasn't that good. Make up something better.
That's funny.
I mean, that is very emblematic of who this woman is and some of her philosophies. Are there mechanics that we haven't touched on that you feel like particularly proud of or attached to or like are super cool? And whereas we're just like, we've jumped around to many of the things.
I feel like we've covered a lot of the main mechanics for the game.
I think because I'm staring at it, I'm going to call it something that I think, again, super funny and very exciting.
Sure.
In the archetype of the geek, which is masters of lore and game mechanics, geeks can exploit glitches and uncover hidden codes. I love that rules lawyer is a move.
Oh yeah, I mean when it came to naming these, I got real meta and fun with it.
Yeah, it's so good. For our listeners, at the rules lawyer move, once per session, you argue the quote rules of a playbook move, either yours or another player's. Very accurate to rules lawyers in real life. Your interpretation must take into account the move's name, but you may change the move's effect, trigger, or outcome as long as your argument makes narrative sense and the GM approves it. And the important part, GM has final say on what's allowed.
Yes, I mean I had to add that in there because I don't want someone to do something insane. But that specific move was actually inspired by a D&D object of known chaos, the Ring of the Grammarium, I think is what it's called, which is a move in D&D where you can take a spell and change one word in it. And I wanted something similar to that in this, but in a way that felt like something people always do in TTRPGs. So, yeah.
Well, and I love, the old saying, we always want people inside the tent pissing out than outside the tent pissing in. Like the geek is kind of so perfectly made for the breakers, for the people that want to rules lawyer, that want to dive deeply into the mechanics of the thing they're playing, exactly as it says, to exploit glitches, find the Easter eggs and the things, and smartly making that something people can do, rather than them being like, okay, well, I'm going to play the cosplayer, but I'm just going to like fuck with my GM super hard and try to break or bend these rules where I can.
There was a lot of thought put into this game when it came to specifically that players who enjoy breaking the game. And I wanted people to be able to experience that in a way that's the intent of the game. Like, please try and break this game. That is the point. Like, what would be the fun of having like a virtual game world and a real world if like you couldn't do the game breaky stuff, right? I think the speedrunner has some moves that are also similar where you can like clip through a wall and things like that. So incredible. I wanted to take those real experiences of playing video games and give them actual mechanics.
Yeah, totally. Is there an avatar role equivalent? I guess the speedster maybe is the thing I can think about that would be closest. In the sense of like it was one of the avatar roles, like also designed to break the rules of the virtual game that you're agreed upon.
Yeah, the speedster definitely is the most game like breaker of them. Actually, let me pull up my own game real quick.
Yeah.
One moment, because there is a lot.
I can also further distract, being like, there are, to me, I see some very interesting influences in the avatar art, especially from I guess actually from anime that I'm vaguely familiar with, and so I could redirect attention to like where who's doing this really fucking cool art, and how did you sort of decide to especially to me, I think the avatar one is such a strong aesthetic with the hard black and bright saturated colors. So in contrast,
first of all, I have the most amazing artists, the character artist and she also did the all the setting art is Emily K. Wordsmith. I use her for a lot of my actual play shows. And I knew that when I was going into this that I wanted her on the team for this book specifically because I just love her art style. As for like the design of all of these, every single design of character art that we have so far actually came from playtesters.
Cool.
So we were in the middle of doing an actual play potentially, and they came up with like the designs of the characters, and that's what ended up making it into the book. So I'm sure some of them pulled it from anime, but that was not a direct like thing from me.
Well,
as far
and
as
I
like
say this not in any way of critique
Yeah.
at all, just in like the DPS specifically to me, I was like, oh, this is super fucking cool, like amazing art, and it was like, oh, there is a equivalent or an analog that I can think of in even my, but yeah, again, not a critique. It's
I mean,
such good
that
art.
Specifically wasn't from me, but it might have been from that player. I just might not be aware. But the idea behind the stylistic choices were we wanted the avatars, the avatar roles to feel like you have a base character that you choose, and that we're really more so highlighting the armor, weapons, and things that you would get either through achievements or through loot boxes or things like that. So there was this like emphasis on the things that they are wearing and carrying, whereas you just have like this void of a blank slate, essentially. Whereas the IRL characters, the IRL archetypes, their aesthetic was kind of taken from this idea of a lo-fi, real world, calm palette. So like you'll notice that all of them are like very subdued palettes, lots of pastels, lots of neutral tones. And that was to just cause this like really fun juxtaposition between these two playbooks.
Yeah. I want to commend that, and also like I've met all these people. I've met people that look exactly like this for sure. And again, for me, like I want to commend having a in both the archetypes and the avatars a variety of the gender presentation, body type, size, skin color, like not just being like. I feel like there's the low-hanging fruit almost of especially digital avatars is to make them all heteronormatively conventionally attractive in whatever palette style you're working with. And don't know that I have a question there, but I love that you did not do that.
Thank you. Diversity was a very big part of this game, as it is in most of the actual plays that I am a part of. And that was something really important, that we weren't just representing one type of person. This is supposed to represent, all nerds. This is supposed to represent everybody. And yeah, so as far as skin tone, as far as body size, like this ranges the gamut, and everybody's included.
Yeah,
everybody can play it.
See, and this is like, there again. The world outside maybe still has the like little white dude in his mom's basement playing D&D with a giant neck beard, and that like those people exist, and we love the ones that aren't weirdly racist and misogynist. And I again, like I think you said, like this encompasses the entirety of nerddom, and that encompasses everyone. There's no one has an exclusive contract on being a geek and enjoying gaming or games. We've kind of talked about this, but I want to ask why to you, like why is a game like this important? Because I think we've kind of touched on a couple of the things, both about our own relationships to online community and online friends versus our real life ones, and the ideas that I think to me, a lot of what I see as teaching moments, if that's the right word, of Safe Mode Disabled is cooperation and collaboration and care for your community. And I think those are always important, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So why do you think people should play? Why is this game important, whether now or generally?
I think that Safe Mode Disabled is important for all the reasons that you said, but also I think that it can be a tool to kind of really explore that, like we kind of talked about in the beginning, the idea of what you show versus what you hide about yourself, and how your relationships to the people around you help you either become more comfortable or maybe not in your own skin, right? So I think that this absolutely is a tool to have a really fun adventure, but I think it's also a guide to telling really in-depth stories about the human condition in the digital age.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's rough being a human in a digital age.
It really is.
Jenel, before I ask you the most important question,
Okay.
where can people find Safe Mode Disabled if they want to get their grubby little hands on it?
You can find Safe Mode Disabled on Kickstarter right now. The campaign is going until June 5th, so get over there and pledge for the game. You can get it right now at a discounted rate on the Kickstarter. There are a bunch of add-ons that are Kickstarter exclusive, like some beautiful Safe Mode Disabled themed dice that are handmade. We also have a lot of really fun stretch goals we're trying to get up to that will encompass like digital tools for the game, character creators and apps and things like that of that nature. My secondary job, besides being a TTRPG enthusiast, is that I am a mobile app and integration designer. So being able to make an app for this game would be really fun. But yeah, so over on the Kickstarter, it's where you can find everything.
Amazing. And of course, as always, links will be in our show notes. But I think it is time for the most important question. Jenel, what are your favorite class and subclass?
Okay. Thank you for setting me up to present my why druids are the best class and can do any role in the party presentation. So I think the most versatile class is the druid, and that is the reason why is because they can be the party healer, they can be the tank, they can be the DPS, they can be every single role in the party depending on what subclass you choose, and it is the only class of all the D&D classes that can do that, in my opinion, well.
I was gonna make a quibble, but
Sure.
I think you're kind of right. I think a couple of those roles maybe slightly less well than other archetypes, but they really can. Subclass and spell loadout dependent a little bit. I wanted to say wizards because
a spell cast or your if you're gonna go for a tank, you definitely have to be a spores druid. Those, they definitely have a lot that's gonna make you really beefy with the extra HP and your extra damage that you put out with your swarm.
When I think especially now that they nerfed wild shape, fucking we have a whole episode about that.
Look, if we're gonna get into new rules, that's gonna be a whole thing. I'm basing this on previous rules.
Yeah, totally. No, we can pretend that 5.5 doesn't exist because they made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, the bear,
Yeah, totally. So I was gonna say there's a part of me that I would make a pitch for wizard, but wizards can't heal. Still, there's one spell they can heal themselves now.
You know who can?
Okay. Counter pitch. Counter pitch. You can play a bard that can fit any party role. You're
I've
looking
never
at me
seen
very
a
skeptically.
tanky bard.
Swords bard. No? Well, okay. That's
That's more
fair.
of a
That's fair.
DPS bard, isn't it? I would say it's a DPS bard.
I would say it is, but also because you can do the defensive flourish and add a full roll of your bardic die to your AC every turn or every time you make a swing.
Okay.
That it's I guess I would kind of put it in there with like paladin and like, yeah, that's a tank and a DPS. You're gonna be frontline and you're gonna smite. Well, in 2014 you're gonna smite everything, and
You're gonna smite
in
all the time.
5.5 you're not, because it's stupid.
No.
So mad about paladin. Anyway, yeah, I love me a good druid. I think that is an excellent choice. Do you have
also
a favorite?
very biased though.
Yeah.
Druid was my first class. So, and probably the first 3 campaigns I played, it was some type of multi-classing between a druid and something. Which I also feel like is the wrong way to learn D&D, because druid and cleric, in my opinion, are probably the 2 harder classes to play. But here we are.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I think it to me, that just says like, oh, you were really interested in the game and also in building the character, because I think not infrequently, I think the 2 ends of the multi-classing spectrum are, it's what my character is doing / will do, and I just want the most insane combo that I read about on Reddit and is going to do insane amounts of damage or whatever.
And to that, I say, why not both? Why not take the most insane combo you could possibly make and be like, how do I make a character arc and story that makes sense for this?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's a really fun way to get a really unique character and story.
I did build once a Midwestern dad who was sort of isekai'd into the D&D realm, who is a paladin, bard, artificer. I was like, oh no, he's that Midwestern dad that knows a little bit about everything.
Oh, I love that. That's
and this is how I'm going to make that. Yeah, it's somewhere. I'll find it. But yeah. Do you have a favorite subclass? Either a druid circle or a totally different thing. You're like, no. Oath of Vengeance is my all-time favorite. What?
I mean, I'm a moon druid, girly at heart, always. You change into an animal, and that's like, I'm sold on it.
I feel like that's the most fun thing about being a druid.
It really is the most fun. I think if I had to pick like a second subclass, which I haven't actually played this one, I've only GM'd for it, but it just seemed so fucking fun, which was the Wild Magic Barbarian one. This is a really funny story. I have a friend who he plays D&D in our group, but like he doesn't want to have to like learn all the mechanics or learn how to build a character. So a lot of times he will come to me before like a game that we're going to play and is like, this is my character concept. I bet you can't build it. And I'm like, yes, I can. And before this one shot that we did with our friends, he came to me and was like, my idea for this one is train horse. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, it's a train and a horse. And so the way I built it,
at one point a train fucked a horse or a horse fucked a train, and somehow now there's an unholy union of the two. Like, what?
I was just told build train horse. I was like, okay, I'm going to build the sickest train horse ever. And so the way we did that was I basically combined like a horse shifter and a warforged for the race. And then I made him a wild magic barbarian. And every time he raged and charged at people, some crazy wild magic thing would go off. And it was super fun. Yeah. But it was a very entertaining one shot. Bonkers. And I really do love that subclass because it's bonkers.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of chaos. You know, I'm a deck of many things girl. Like anything like that, anything wild magic, I think is so fun. Which I think is probably evident in Safe Mode Disabled with the amount of things that are just like, you do this, that it can be anything. Enjoy. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, incredible. As a small follow-up, do you write your own wild magic table or find ones that are not, the canon DMG?
Mix of both. I think there's a lot out on the internet right now. There's a lot of other creatives out there who have made some crazy ones. So I don't know that I necessarily have to, but I have in the past made my own wild magic tables. Yeah. Absolutely, because it's fun. I think one of my favorite ones that's like stock D&D is what comes in Descent into Avernus for the Demon Ichor. There's a table for that and the effects of it that is hilarious. So yeah, anything that requires that kind of table is fun.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Jenel, thank you so much for joining us. I congratulations on a already successful Kickstarter. I think I caught it there. Yep.
We got fully funded in 20 hours after launch. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that for you. And listeners, it'll be about 2 days left as of the airing of this episode to go back safe mode disabled and play your own isekai avatar virtual reality incredible campaign. Tell us all about it. I want to know what weird shit you're up to. Jenel, where can people find you and the rest of your work or follow you for updates on future work?
You can follow me pretty much on every social media platform under BossJellyBean. We have a lot of just safe mode disabled accounts out there as well. But yeah, BossJellyBean or just BossJellyBean.com.
Amazing. And listeners, as you know, you can find The Roll Report on Blue Sky and TikTok at The Roll Report Cast if you like what we're doing, and I hope you do. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Roll Report and throw us $1. Throw us more. That'd be cool. In this day and age, if you have $1 to spare, that would be fucking fantastic. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's better places to spend it, but I'm going to say spend it on us. Jenel, thank you once again for joining me. What a delight to talk to you and get to know you, and I'm so excited to get to fully experience Safe Mode Disabled.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Of course. Until next time, listeners, go roll some more dice. Maybe make it 2d6 this time, just for fun. Bye.